Hey, why don't you get some drums or something?
Uh, there they are.
Let's rock.
Hey, this is Todd Sucherman. Let's rock.
Light it up, let's get this show. Light it up, let's get this show. Let's get this show on the road.
How are you, Ken?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Okay, can't complain.
Nice. Welcome to Let's Rock.
Well, let's rock indeed.
Absolutely. Um, I was a funny thing popped into my head the other day. I was the first time I ever saw you was I wrote the date down here, June 26th, 1996,
And where was that?
Montreal.
Okay, it was a rainy evening outside on the hill, wasn't it?
Okay, come on. How do you remember that?
Not bad, huh?
That's pretty impressive. Yes, actually, it was very rainy. Um, And it was so funny because I didn't know that John Pinoza was not playing anymore with the band at that time, and was very surprised to see a new drummer. Now, with that 20, almost 30 years later, you get sick and you miss a show, and people know about it 5 minutes later.
Y yes, indeed. Information moves a lot quicker these days than it did 30 years ago, didn't it?
Doesn't it? How are you feeling?
I'm just about 100%. Thank you. Yeah, it was kind of a scary event. I've never had to be hospitalized or go to the hospital for anything. There's certainly emergency room style situation, but I guess the food poisoning was so bad that the paramedics were called, and I passed out, and my heart rate dipped down to 30. And they rushed me to the hospital where they found nothing wrong with me. So, um, but it was clear that I was probably not in the condition to play rock and roll drums that evening. So,
Absolutely.
as fate would have it, Jeff Hines, who's our co-production manager, and Lawrence Gowan's keyboard tech, he in his other life he went to Berklee College of Music, where I did, and studied drums and studied music. So he's even though his occupation took a different turn, uh, he's watched the show from stage right for almost 20 years, I think, and he leapt in to save the evening and did an incredible job from all reports.
Oh my God. Your heart rate was down to 30?
Yeah, not sure what happened. Apparently, food poisoning is a pretty serious thing.
Apparently. Holy geez. You're quite a trooper, though. You were back the next night.
Yeah, that was tough. Each day is, I've gotten better and better, but I only had one more show to do, and then I had stayed behind in Seattle and taught two drum event master classes at West Coast Drums in Bellevue, Washington, that Sunday night and that Monday, and finally came home on Tuesday. Immediately back in here to do some things and remind my wife and daughter that they actually have a husband and a father, and here we are on Let's Rock.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, I'm glad you're okay. Is that the first show you've missed?
No, I'd missed two shows in 2008 to play the Modern Drummer Festival. I was given that time off, and then they booked shows. So Kenny Aronoff had filled in for me there, and when my daughter was born a week early, I missed three shows. And again, Kenny came to play the show because he had written charts for everything. So he just comes in and he reads it down like he's in a symphony orchestra.
Holy. Wow, that's not a bad guy to fill in either.
And no, he'll always have a very special place in my heart for that.
He's an amazing drummer as well. Yeah. Now, the reason we're talking today is because you're coming up to Canada with Lawrence Gowan to play with him next month. I think April 16th is your first show with him.
That sounds about right.
We're in Ottawa right now, so we'll be catching the show on the 20th. But before we get into the Gowan shows, there are a couple of history questions I'd like to ask you.
Sure.
So I read that When you were two, you started playing the drums, and it got me thinking, when I was two, about all I could do was eat dirt. That's all I could do, poop my pants and eat dirt. And here you are playing drums. How did that get going? And what kind of support did you get from your parents? I mean, at two, it must have been noisy as hell in there.
Well, I was the youngest in the musical family, so that was a wonderful, you know, hand to be dealt in life. My father was a drummer and he was a doctor by day. My mother was a singer, actress who could play piano. And my two older brothers, 5 and 7 years older than me, gravitated towards uh, piano and the bass guitar. So it made sense that I fill out the rhythm session. So, I mean, it wasn't until I was four that I could, my feet could reach the pedals of a real drum set and I could really play beats. But I was interested in music and the drums and the little things that I had. Uh, Even as a 2 year old, my parents could tell that I was playing with intent, trying to even hit with my hands, get a sound out of the drums, not just the way a kid would bash on something, but there was an intent and a rhythm and a steadiness and looking at it, trying to get sounds out of it. And I would sit with my Mickey Mouse record player and I'd listen to records all day. So that was definitely my focus, and it was wonderful to grow up in an environment that encouraged um, music, musical discussion, musical education, and between music, comedy, and sports, there was always something to talk about at the dinner table. It was never a stilted, so son, what did you learn at school today? There's always something to talk about. So it was a really great way to grow up.
Nice. And you played your first show, I read, when you were six. And at six,
Yeah.
I was still eating dirt and pooping my pants. And here you are playing shows.
Well, I was eating dirt and pooping my pants, but playing a show at the same time. Um, No, my two older brothers were again 5 and 7 years older than I was, so we grew up as a rhythm section. So we would learn to play all different kinds of music. Because my father would say, if you're uh, diverse, you can be busy. So it wasn't like we just learned rock songs. We learned standards and rumbas and whatnot to be diverse, to be hired to actually make money playing music, and then that's what followed afterwards. We became working musicians.
Wow. At 6 years old. It's pretty impressive. Very impressive. You've played with everybody. I mean, you've played with a lot of people.
Well, not everybody, but
Not Um, but I think, when you're talking about the most legendary bands in probably history, Spinal Tap has to be right up there, right? Styx and Spinal Tap. Um, Now, I've seen your post on Instagram where you had that probably the greatest set list of all time when you played on The Tonight Show.
mhm.
Um, and I know you've been asked a billion questions about this, so I'm just going to kind of veer off and just say, did you get an invite to the new movie? Are you in the new movie?
I did not. CJ Vanston, who's their musical director, is a dear friend of mine, and he had called me early on, and he said, "Look, there's a whole storyline with a female drummer." So sorry. So
So how did they kill you off?
they no, they didn't kill me off. They just let me go. They just ignored me. No, yeah, I'm curious as much as everyone to see what they're going to do, because it's going to be great. It's going to be hilarious. It's going to be done, to a T. And I can't wait. But I'd be lying if I didn't say I was disappointed that they didn't at least have me be one of the mimes or a waiter in a scene. But what can you do? A boy can dream.
Exactly. Okay, now we are in Canada right now, so um, I've often wondered this since Lawrence Gowan joined Styx. Um, do you notice a difference between crowds in Canada and the States with him in the band? Um, he's kind of like a national musical treasure, I guess I could say, up here. He's a pretty big deal solo wise. So do you notice that there's a difference with the crowd reactions?
When I say no, I don't mean that to be disparaging towards my dear friend Lawrence at all. The crowds are always happy and excited and very animated. So it's just a continuation of the general excitement of the music fans that come to see the band and come to enjoy the show. So it's always been just that, and it continues to be, which is a great thing.
You do play A Criminal Mind when you play in Canada, or I guess the northern states. Sometimes you play.
Well, generally Canada, and maybe if we're in sort of upstate New York, Buffalo, around that area. But we did it was in the regular set in the 2001 tour. I remember we played that all the way through the entire American summer tour. So um, it has been performed south of the border.
That's and so it should be. It's a great song. And it was fantastic. The last time I saw you was in Montreal last year, uh in
Now,
Laval.
see, I can't remember that one. I could remember '96. Last year, Laval. That was the indoor. Excuse me. That was the indoor little hockey arena. Was that
Yeah,
where we played?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, and you played it there and great reception and you guys do a great version of it. So I want to thank you for, bringing that Canadian classic to the masses. How's that?
But by all means, it's a great song.
It is. Um, did did Lawrence introduce you guys to any new Canadian customs or traditions when you joined the band? I
Well,
mean, now you've got
let
Gowan.
me let me hit the most obvious one. I had never been charmed by hockey before. I was baseball, football, basketball, and it wasn't until I was in the band with a Canadian that I got to ask him questions because he'd be standing up all excited looking at the TV, and I'm just seeing guys skate around. So I'm like, what's icing? I mean, let's start with that, right?
Well, icing happened when the puck come down, bang, before the other guys, nobody there. My arm go comes out, then the game stop, then start up.
He was able to explain things, and then he'd say, "Watch this guy. This guy's going to move over here, and he this." And so he was able to teach me sort of some of the ins and outs of the game. And one of the things I'm most grateful for that he taught me was to deeply appreciate on a pretty serious emotional level the hoisting of the cup for the winning of the team. I mean, he'll say to me, he goes, every one of those guys has practiced that a million times in their driveway and in their bedrooms when they were 6 and 7 years old. And many of these guys are feeling what it weighs for the first time. And now I find myself getting emotional whenever I see that ceremony. I think it might be the greatest ceremony in all of sports. So I'll leave you with that spectacular Canadian tradition.
And every single Canadian boy has scored a Game 7 game winner on our driveway, on the outdoor rink, wherever. We've done it.
Yep.
All have.
Yep. No, and I can relate. I mean, I grew up with baseball being the game that I intrinsically knew the deepest. What the plan was at any point in a game with the score, who's on base. And yeah, you got to hit a ninth inning home run in the World Series. Same thing.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Um, I read that Styx has a new album coming out soon. Is this true or not true?
It is true. I'm not sure how much at liberty I'm able to speak about it because management tends to be pretty tight-lipped about things until they have their party line of how to go about it. But it's recorded, it's mixed. I can only assume it'll be out before the summer tour, and that's all I can really say at this point. But yeah, we're really excited about it. And for me personally, I mean, I'm really proud that I can't think of another band this late in their career that has put out three records like we have: The Mission in 2017, Crash of the Crown in 21, and here, that are this good, this good of songwriting, this good of melodies, this good of lyrics. Um, I'm really, really proud of the work that we did, and excited to get the music in the hands of those who care to add it to the soundtrack of their lives.
You took one of my questions away. It was going to be, you guys are kind of going back to the 80s, releasing an album every couple of years. It's crazy.
Well, I got to say, a big part of the impetus for that was working with Will Evankovich, who's now been a band member for several years now. Um, you know, um, I'll always be um, I'll always be a little angry at him that I'm no longer the youngest man in the band. Um, but what he does is he brings this youthful drive and is able to inspire um, some of the guys in the band to, yeah, let's work on that. That's a cool idea. What are you playing over there? Or like, well, here, what if I did this, or here's this, or he'll start playing something and someone else will play an idea. And instead of having this doom and gloom, well, what's a record? What's the record business? Who even is going to care or buy it? At a certain point, we're put on this earth to be musicians, and if you are able to create. It's very easy to go, this is what is this for? And then you have a guy like Will. It's like, no, let's work on this idea, and then all of a sudden you got a bunch of ideas. Wait a second, could we have the beginnings of the embryonic stages of a record here? And then that gets exciting, uh, just that in and of itself. So it's nice to have that youthful energy to push forward.
Right. And as a longtime Styx fan, I mean, I was listening to Styx when I was probably 8 years old. Um, I'm pretty sure Tommy Shaw just farts out riffs every day. So you've always got that. I mean, he's a riff machine.
Yeah, there's no shortage of talent in this lineup.
Absolutely. And you've got another Canadian too. So it's always nice to see the Canadians taking over a little bit.
The band's 20% more Canadian now.
Yeah, exactly. It's good. All right, let's get on to this Gowan stuff. This is great. You're coming back to Ottawa. I know you were here. Well, I think you were here last year for a drum clinic.
I did a master class at Dave's, and I'm actually staying behind to do my advanced master class program at Dave's on, I believe, is that the 22nd? Would that be the Tuesday of that week?
Yeah, because you have shows here on the 20th and 21st.
Okay, so yeah, so I'm doing another master class event at Dave's on the 22nd after the two Ottawa shows.
Jeez, man. You love it up here.
I do. I always have. I don't believe in past lives, but I always feel comfortable up there, and I feel that if there is any truth to that, at some point in the past, I was Canadian.
Oh, well, that's good to know. I like that. Okay, so here's the deal. 3 times, this will be the third time I've seen Gowan in the last year and a half. First time he had his son playing drums, and he was badass. Then the second time, I hope I get this name right, it was Sekou Lumumba.
Hmm.
Did I pronounce that right?
I think you did.
He was badass as well. But one thing that really struck me, I'm not a drummer at all. I'm basic, steady 4/4 beat guy. Um, but how much the drums change with both of those guys and how much they add to the actual songs in the set list. I'm wondering, does Lawrence just let you kind of go for it, or do you kind of have to follow the album, or are you pretty much free to do what you want as long as you're in beat?
Well, when you play songs that were hits or on the radio, you have to follow along the script. This isn't a jam band situation or jazz odyssey.
Jazz Odyssey. We're not about to do a free-form jazz exploration in front of a festival crowd.
Jazz fusion free for all. So I'm free to do what I like, but I also am smart enough to go, well, I think Jerry Marotta played some pretty cool stuff on You're a Strange Animal. Why don't kind of follow along those lines? And then obviously there might be a jam section at the end where we're free to improvise and play off each other. But you know, but if I were to look at it from, say, the work on the Strange Animal record, uh, there was serious thought to the drum parts and the drum programming that accompanied those songs. So you kind of have to stick to the script. Now, Lawrence had asked me to play with him on the 25th anniversary of the Strange Animal tour, which I think was maybe 2011,
Yeah,
around there.
because now it's the 50th, 40th anniversary right now.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's 2010 maybe, 2010, 2011. So I had been his guy up until late, well, I guess early 2020. And there was one or two gigs that I couldn't make, and he had his son Dylan do it. And I knew right then and there, like, I can't make these two gigs. I just lost the gig to his son, who's old enough and experienced enough to handle the gig, and that's exactly what happened. And I don't begrudge any of those guys, and I don't begrudge a father being able to share the experience with his son. Uh, but now, after 5 years or so, um, Dylan is in a band called the Seven Spires, so he couldn't make these dates. I couldn't do the dates in February because that was on my daughter's birthday. My daughter's turning 11, and she's getting older, and those birthdays aren't going to mean as much. So that's why Sekou played those shows up there, because I wasn't going to miss my daughter's birthday, especially missing the daddy-daughter dance that I did the week before. Like, I don't want to be the brutalist here at home. Um, so I'm very happy to be back doing these shows in April and May, but I feel very much that drum chair was mine for a long time. So it's going to be kind of like stepping back and playing with the old band again. You know what I mean?
Nice. Do you have a chance to practice before you, like, is there a rehearsal time before this, or do you all pretty much know what's going on?
No, we have no rehearsal. I have the pieces of music, and it's funny. I've been listening to it the last couple days actually, and although I never tell myself, oh, this is going to be easy, I always review, and I'm always wildly prepared. But I'm listening to it, and I'm like, yep, got it. Got it. I see everything around every corner, and I remember. Oh yeah, so it's fun to do, and I feel that I've played this music on I don't know how many shows with Lawrence, 40 maybe. So that's a lot of shows, and I tend to, once I learn something, I'm kind of like an elephant. I know it forever. Um, so I'm excited to play with the guys again and to help celebrate this amazing music.
It is fantastic stuff. Now, is Lawrence the Styx guy the same as Lawrence the solo guy? Or is he kind of like does he drive you harder when it's his own show?
Well, he's the boss for his own show, where he's my bandmate for in Styx. So I'll razz him a little bit, and he'll have his star dressing room, and I'll be down with the other guys, and say, so, yes, boss, and just kind of wink at him. But look, that is the dynamic. It's his show. He had all these hit records, and when you're a drummer, you're constantly generally a sideman in the service industry, right? Even in Styx, I don't call the shots. I might have an opinion. I might raise my hand and have a suggestion, but I don't have executive say there. But the Lawrence's show, that's the place where he has a executive say. So I respect that.
Nice. Were you a fan of his before he joined Styx? Had you heard of his stuff before?
No, it's funny. I hadn't, and I the first I heard of him is when he opened up for us in Montreal and Quebec City, and then 1997 tour. I had gotten to the gig early, and lights went out. I heard the applause, sold out arena, and I heard this piano playing. And, a lot of those dressing rooms in an arena are the hockey, locker rooms, right? So I remember coming out midway through the arena, was able to look over the floor to the stage, and I was watching this guy play and sing and checked out a couple songs. And then I did the same thing the next night. And because he was addressing the audience in French, I assumed that he was some, Quebec French artist. I had no idea of anything about it, his history, or that the fact he was from Toronto and spoke perfect English. So he tells this story better than I do, but apparently I went up to him after the show, and I said, excuse me, I don't speak your language. And he said something, oh, it's okay, I don't either. And, so immediately the first thing we ever said to each other, we had a laugh. And I actually asked, I said, hey, I'd love a CD. And he gave me a live in Quebec, a solo piano. I took it home and I could listen to it, and it had some songs that I particularly really liked. Like, this guy's really good. As fate would have it, about a year and change later, I had moved to Los Angeles, and Styx was on hiatus. It was kind of a weird moment in the band, and I was just taking every gig that I could, every session, blah blah blah. And I got a call from the music director I'd worked with. Said, "Hey, do you want to play the Princess Diana Memorial Concert in Althorp Palace in England? Play 2 songs with David Hasselhoff." Yes, was the answer. So next thing I know, I'm on a plane in England, and all the acts are playing with the BBC orchestra, and I'm walking down the hallway, and there's Lawrence Gowan coming my way. So I see him again there. And that night there was a party at Althorp Palace, and different people got up to play a couple songs on the piano, and he got up and he did Somebody to Love by Queen and blew the roof off the place. I mean, it was spectacular. I come home, and James Young gives me a call and said, hey, someone suggested that Canadian fellow Lawrence Gowan for the band. What did you think of that guy? And I said, I just came back from England. He did Somebody to Love by Queen and blew the roof off of a literal palace. If he could do that, he can do our gig. And so that was the genesis of how it all came about.
And one of the nicest guys going, right?
Oh, Al, one of the nicest guys, a very smart, very zen, and one of my best pals in the world.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I've interviewed him about 4 times, and I'll do it 100 times more. He's so good to chat with.
Rapid fire. Pew, 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 pew.
Okay, I've got this segment I do. It's called Rapid Fire. I ask quick questions, quick answers. Some of them are good, some of them are stupid, some of them are just whatever. So here we go.
Okay.
So like I told you before, I'm a huge fan of Styx from when I was 8 years old. I always felt that John Panozzo was criminally underrated as a drummer. When you joined the band, were there any drum parts where you kind of said, oh, this is kind of interesting or different or strange? Like, I know you can probably play anything that you hear, but did anything surprise you?
No, because I had all the records sort of in real time. So that music was part of my DNA amongst so many other records and artists and genres of growing up and dedicating my life to music always. The thing that's different when you attempt to play a piece of music is John was a very interesting drummer in so fact that he was very active for someone who had limited technique. And I don't mean any disrespect by that. I mean, that's like a step towards like a Keith Moon type of thing, where there's a lot of activity, but they don't necessarily have, Steve Smith, Vinnie Colaiuta chops, right? So he left very interesting templates for me to play because he was very active. And he left a fun template of choices to play, and that makes it sort of harder to play note for note because it's not like the songs are like you're playing the song "The Wall" by Pink Floyd. Like that's the beat and that's it. You have choices when someone's playing a lot of toms and crashes in unexpected places. So um, I've had a lot of fun with this music over the last 30 years.
Rapid fire number two, put you on the spot. What's your favorite drum album of all time? I have my choice. I think I know what my choice is, but
It's
I'm
totally impossible to answer. Totally impossible to answer. Oh boy.
changes every day, right?
I mean, it literally does. I mean, there's thousands of records that were hugely instrumental in shaping who I am as a music that still inform me. So to choose one is a disservice to all. Okay. Tell you what, this is the best that I can come up with. Uh, Tony Williams' Lifetime, the new Tony Williams' Lifetime, Believe It, 1975. That's a record that changed the whole face of fusion, and all my drum heroes that came after him that were young, young adults or teenagers when that happened. I heard that playing in their music, and then when I went back to that record, I'm like, oh, this is the source. This is the hero of my heroes. So the new Tony Williams Lifetime, Believe It, 1975, Columbia Records and Tapes.
Nice.
If you check out the Tony Williams record, get past the first track because the first track is just kind of there's not much going on. But after that, it's sort of like it's almost like he was warming up.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm writing this down. Tony Williams. I got it.
the new Tony Williams Lifetime, Believe It.
Got it. Okay, here's one of the silly questions. I always try to get one question that I hope you've never been asked before, but that's pretty hard to do when you've been in the business for a while. Um, did Lawrence introduce you to Tim Hortons and poutine, or did you know about that before?
No, I knew about both of those before. Um, uh, but Lawrence did explain to me the whole Tim Horton story. But you got to remember, the first time I was ever in Canada was 1985. So I'd been there for various other things through my career before Lawrence was in the band.
Right. That's true. You have been here quite a bit. What other Canadian artists do you like aside from Gowan?
Well, of course, Rush was important to me when those records were coming out, particularly 2112 through Signals. Like Loverboy was on the radio, and the fact that Matt Frenette's a pal of mine, Mike Reno, great guy. They're all great guys. Uh, Boy, I know there's more.
You just toured with Loverboy, didn't you?
Yeah. We did some shows with them the summer before last.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, like and everyone I've met through Lawrence and all the other musicians that yeah, everyone's been so cool. I mean, and goodness, then now you got people like Leonard Cohen and Joni Mitchell and Neil Young and on and on and on. It's what a rich musical history our dear
Oh,
friends and neighbors to the north have.
yes. Oh, thank you for saying that with all the crap that's going on these days. Thank
Our
you.
dear friends and neighbors and brothers and sisters who we love dearly, our neighbors.
You should be our prime minister, I think.
I don't think I could handle running anything. Certainly not now.
What drums do you play when you come up here? You're not bringing your own drum kit, right?
No, I mean, but when I was with Pearl Drums for 25 years, Lawrence had a Pearl kit that I secured for him that actually he owns. But I play Sonar drums now, so part of having an endorsement, you call the drum company and you say, "Hey, I'm going to be in Toronto. Can you get me a kit?" They have a backline rental company where they have drums. Do you have these things that I need? Yes, yes, no. If they don't, they ship things over from Germany where these are made. And hopefully I will have 100% everything that I need for these shows in April, in
Nice.
May.
Congratulations on that, by the way, the Sonar
Thank
sponsor.
you. I'm,
That's
I'm thrilled.
looking forward to it. April 20th and 21st in Ottawa. and the tour kicks off April 16th in Guelph. New Styx album sometime this year, and new Sonar endorsement.
New drums.
It's a good
Happy
year.
guy. It's a good year. Lots going on.
Right on. Thanks so much for this, Todd. I really appreciate it. Have a safe trip up to Canada, and we'll see you in about a month or so.
All right, Ken, thank you very much, man. Take care.